that you logged 10 hours of work this week, you worked all the way through Friday, and then the weekend comes and you think, what the fuck did I actually get done? And you realize that nothing really moved. So what do? Well, you call yourself lazy, you think that there's a problem with you, but that is also not logical because lazy people don't work 10 hours a day. So the actual thing is probably something you haven't looked at before. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're not the type of person that is just sitting on the couch all day doing absolutely nothing. And that's kind of what makes this whole thing even more frustrating. And the fact that you're actually trying. And this is exactly why the whole I'm lazy label feels just like wrong. But it's also hard to say, like, okay, but what is it then? Because what else can you call it when the effort that you put in doesn't match the results that you expect? But this is what's actually happening right now. You're probably doing 6, 7 things, maybe even 10 different things at the same time. So you have a business idea. You want to make content. You want to train. You want to go to the gym. Maybe you want to do fighting. Maybe you want to do rock climbing. Maybe you want to go swimming. And every single thing feels just like important. And honestly, it probably is. And that's the reason why you keep rotating between them. And you give all of them energy. And at the end of the day, you've touched all of them, but you haven't actually moved anything forward on any of the areas. And that is sort of the gap here. You work hard all day, but you can't really seem to see the outcome that you want. And it's just the most demoralizing feeling ever. Because now you don't just feel unproductive, but you feel kind of broken, as if something is very wrong with you. Because you see other people getting results, so why are you not getting results? And maybe you even think like, shit, am I really built for this? But the thing is, what you're calling laziness is actually just overload, cognitive overload. And those are two completely different problems, and they have two completely different fixes as well. Because laziness is knowing what you have to do, but not doing it, and choosing comfort instead of it. However, overload is genuinely trying, but just trying so many things that you're just spinning all the time. And the thing you have to realize is that you don't need more discipline. You don't need to be less lazy. You just need fewer things on the line. Think of your brain as an assembly line, like a factory where they make some sort of product, and it's an assembly line of things. A good factory runs one product through at a time. Raw materials come in, there's full attention at each station, and the finished product comes out at the other end. That's literally how a product is made. That's how things get completed. Now imagine the same assembly line, but you're trying to push 10 different products through at the same time. What do you think happens? Obviously, a lot of inventory is just going to pile up throughout the assembly line at different points. And all the workers that are working there and the machines that are working, they're going to be loaded with different tasks and they don't know what to do, they don't know what to prioritize. And at the end, nothing gets finished. The line is full, the warehouse is empty, and if a factory was really running like this, it would be bankrupt in a month. But that's exactly what you're doing to yourself. You're running 10 products at the same time through the same assembly line, through a single threaded system, and you're wondering why nothing gets shipped. It's because it's jammed. So you're not lazy, your assembly line is not correct, it's not good. And the fix here is what manufacturing calls a one product flow. One task enters the assembly line, it gets full attention all the way through, and it gets its way all the way through to completion as well. And only after that, a new product starts. And that's it. That's it. That's how things get done. And the thing is, it's not just about efficiency. There's actually a real cognitive cost to doing what you're doing. Every unfinished task that you have, you're carrying it in your mind, in your subconscious, and it runs as a background process. And this is called the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain doesn't let go of incomplete things, it wants to know it. It holds them open, it wants to resolve it. It's just like having those people that have a bunch of apps open on their phone and they go through and they swipe up all three at the same time. The reason why they do it is because they need to save the battery on your phone, the energy on your phone, the RAM on your phone. And having 10 open loops at the same time is the same as running half your capacity in your background without you even knowing it. Before you even sit down, your focus and attention is completely gone. And on top of this, there's a layer of decision fatigue. Every time you switch between tasks, or even decide what task you have to do next, you're burning the same amount of mental fuel as you would from just executing something. It drains you going forward because it costs a lot of energy, and it drains you backwards because you work all day, you see things spinning, but you don't see any result. And tomorrow you wake up and you have regret for everything that happened the day before. And here is the kicker is that compounds in both directions at the same time. And this is why attention and execution are functionally the same thing. Imagine a golfer mid-swing, about to hit the ball and somebody claps and his whole focus is gone. One interruption destroys the whole output. And your 30 open browsers, your unfinished projects, your notifications, everything, it's all claps. But it's not one clap, it's a continuous clap all the time. And then you're wondering why the quality of your work doesn't match your capabilities. And this is where environmental design comes into the picture, because it's actually more important than willpower as well. If you know Jerry Seinfeld, he used to sit down in a room with only a block to take notes, and he would sit there, empty room, block, nothing else, and it was either you work or you stare at the wall. Those are your two options. And Alex Armosi turns off his phone completely, nobody can get to him, and he says if there is a real emergency, they will call 911 and figure out the problem because he couldn't fix it anyway. If it can't wait those 4 hours or whatever, however long your deep work session is, he wouldn't be able to fix it anyway. And these people are not genetically different, gifted than you. They just made distractions impossible. They eliminated everything. They designed the environment so the right behavior automatically happens. And there's also a huge compounding award with this that most people miss. And that is that winning gives you energy. 4 hours of deep work that produces one good thing, actual visible progress. And visible progress is the most motivating thing on earth. So you don't need to manufacture motivation or whatever it is. You just need to create the situation that automatically makes it. And scattered effort on 10 different things shows you no visual or visible progress, so it feels like genuine failure. Even though you worked hard and the effort was real, the whole architecture was still wrong. And now, this is not the only thing. I have to push back a little bit on this, because doing too many things can also be a discipline problem, just disguised as a work problem. If you didn't delegate things, if you haven't said no to things, or you didn't tell anybody like I can't take this, it's not possible for me to take this task on right now, then that's not an overload problem. That's just you have to get better at setting boundaries. And if you can't catch that distinction, you have to learn that first. Otherwise, you'll just pile things up and you'll be blaming all the piling and things. And even beyond that, if you didn't specify what your goal is, then your whole framework is off. Because if you don't have a clear goal, you can't actually rank things. There's no hierarchy of things that has to be done. And if you can't rank it, then you can't prioritize it. If you can't prioritize it, then everything just feels like equally important, so who cares? Which again means that everything gets a little bit of attention and nothing gets done. So that is the thing. If you don't have a clear goal, then you're not overwhelmed or anything. You just don't know where you're going. Your system is cloudy and has no clarity. So it's very important that the system comes before the task list. And for this, you follow these simple steps. Step number 1, you define the goal, not vaguely, but specifically. Step 2, you reverse engineer from the goal back to where you are right now in an action chain. So what are the chains of actions that have to happen for me to go from here to there? And step 3 is when you're integrating or when you're using the system, figure out where your bottlenecks are. And that will be your highest leverage point to work on. And when you have that, and only when you have that, you're able to say, this right here is the one thing that I should be working on. And when you have that one thing, it has to be meaningful and it has to be binary. You either did it or you didn't. You need to know what done looks like. So opening Google spreadsheets, for example, is not a task. That's just like a gesture. but saying that you're going to build a complete client acquisition system, all the way from the first client outreach to a client signed, that's a task. That's something you can work on. And the needle mover within this has to be specific enough to actually act on and significant enough that finishing it actually feels like something. So signal versus noise. That's your operating filter from here on. So if you know those old radios where you have the FM, old, I don't know, you have an FM radio and you have to turn it to actually get the signal to match the radio station. If you turn it to 106, for example, while the station is at 106.5, you'll hear the station, but it's going to be scurry, it's going to be noisy. And that's close, but it's still useless. You can't really enjoy the music then. So you have to apply this to your life. Something like making content and actually publishing it, that would be signal. But obsessively researching editing techniques or how should I make this or how should I talk, and that's just like noise disguised as productivity. They feel similar on the inside, but it's completely different. And if you know this, you can reduce your list of things that you fear of missing out on, as long as that one thing is the actual genuine bottleneck. And nothing downstream matters except for the bottleneck until the bottleneck has been dealt with. Everything upstream is just inventory piling up. When you're looking at all those editing videos for no reason, just because you want to have more information, you're just piling up inventory. So find the actual constraint and fix it. Then you move on to the next one. Super simple. Picture this. You have a solo creator. On Monday, he decides he's going to do a lot of editing and looking at his videos. On Tuesday, he decides to upgrade his whole Notion workspace. On Wednesday, he does a little bit of client work here and there. On Thursday, he maybe checks his emails and replies to some DMs. On Friday, he tries to find some new gear, some camera, microphones, whatever. And then Friday night, he sits down and he's, wow, that was a good week. And then he realizes, I didn't fucking post a single video. Not one single thing that actually moved me forward. But was he lazy? He did 10 hours a day. He was at his desk. He felt like he was being productive. But the problem is, again, he pushed 10 products through the assembly line at the same time. And nothing comes out at the other end. Nothing gets shipped. So next Monday, he decides, I'm going to try something different this time. This time will be better. So the phone goes in the drawer. He writes out one task on his sticky note and he puts it on the computer, desktop, whatever. And for 4 hours, nothing else exists. And by noon, he's filmed his video, he's edited his video, and he's posted his video. One thing through the production line at a time. And he managed to put out more in before lunchtime on Monday than he did the entire week before. The same person, the same skill, the same hours available. The only thing is the environment he made, the architecture of the environment. And that's not a productivity hack or whatever. That's what happens when you don't confuse motion with progress. So what can you do about this right now? Think about this. If you could do one thing in the next 7 days, only one thing, you're allowed only one thing to happen in the next 7 days, what would it be? And the answer you have there, that is your signal. And everything else is negotiable. If you couldn't answer the question, it tells you something completely different. It means that you don't have a clear goal yet. And that's the actual first problem you need to solve. Before you do anything at all, before your email, before your messages, Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever it is, before you check anything that is urgent, write down the single most important task. Better yet, do this the night before. And don't do 3, don't do 5, don't do 2, 1. And make it specific, make it binary. It's done or it's not done. And that task that you have there in front of you, the first 4 hours of your day is dedicated to only that task. Everything else does not exist until that task is done. And at the end of the day, you ask yourself a simple question. What do you think it is? That's right. Did I finish the one thing? And if the answer is yes, the day is a win. Literally doesn't matter what else happened. The day is a win. And if it's a no, look at your environment, figure out why you didn't get it done, and fix that for tomorrow. So maybe you had a, I don't know, a Kinder Egg toy or something next to your desk and you started throwing it at the wall or whatever. Remove the Kinder Egg toy for the next day. And that's the entire system. Now you know exactly how you can go from A to B, and you have a feedback loop to figure out if your processing is actually working. You, you feed the feedback back to the beginning again, which is the next day. You do the same thing, and you just do that, and you will get results. It's not magic, it's engineering. The mechanism behind why effort doesn't compound, the actual architecture of it, down in like a full guide, so you can actually like look at it and see like, wow, this is actually what it looks like. And it goes a little bit deeper than what I could cover here. And you can find that like a link in the description. Because you have to remember, like, not lazy. And you never were. If you're watching this video, you never were. You're just running like things through the system at the same time. It's a classic mistake. And the fix isn't to work harder, it's to clear the line, do less, do more of what is important.